Seaman here with the Maglite podcast and taking a little turn in an interesting direction today. Our guest is someone who, in this stage of life, has turned a hobby into a business, and also it also remains sort of a hobby because he does stuff that just interests him because it's something that he wants to do. I mean, who doesn't want a hand carved canoe? As opposed to a cutting board or something that would be common for people to have. He's also done things like whiskey barrels, which, by the way, aged whiskey, a big thing in the United States. I'm sure that there's some call for that. Scott Seaman joins us here on the Maglite podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing, Lou?
Good, thanks. So you have a popular Instagram channel and a YouTube channel under the Seaman Custom Builds. How did you get started in this woodworking thing?
Yes, I've always had interest in wood, messing with wood, building things. As a kid, there was always a pile of wood in the corner of the garage, and kind of had free range with tools. So that evolved into gutting and remodeling our first house, little 1920 bungalow. Then built, furniture. Yeah, it's hard to find good stuff out in the stores, so just kind of started working with that, and then a few years ago decided to maybe I make a little business out of this. But I've dialed that back a little bit now. It's more of a hobby. From try to learn new things and give that stuff away to people. I can go to their house and see them using it.
So people are drawn to your Instagram and your Facebook page because they're learning how to do what you do, or is it more just interest in seeing, wow, that's fascinating that this guy can do this?
Yeah, I think there's been some tutorial step-by-step stuff. More it's the projects are uncommon. I like to bring a little bit of humor, and then just encouraging type of posts for others.
You consider yourself something of an influencer on the social media then?
Yeah, slightly on a very small scale, I guess.
So obviously we're here on the Maglite podcast, and one of the things that you had told me when we talked about doing this podcast potentially was you're also quite the fitness and outdoors person. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you tend to run quite a bit, and that's your exercise of choice, so to speak.
Correct. Yeah, I like to try to get out early before work and run, but for a lot of months of the year, that's hard to do because it's in the dark. So it requires a flashlight in hand.
So obviously you like Maglites. What kind of Maglite do you carry with you when you're out running? Obviously you want a lighter one, correct?
Yeah, it's the small solitaire because it's just enough light.
Size, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And obviously easy to carry, very light. It's the kind of thing you have in your hand. It doesn't add. It's negligible in terms of the extra weight. Easy. It's just a regular type of battery, so it's not difficult for battery to find batteries for it. And you find that it's got ease of use. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, and there's a lot of USB rechargeable ones, but the last thing you need when you're heading out the door is find out it's not charged, and you can't just throw a battery in it. Right. So so that to me that's a bonus for the solitaires. Is you can swap a battery in it real quick.
And that's one of your preferred things about the solitaires. Just put a regular battery right in it, and off you go. You just keep extra batteries in the drawer. And if the battery's burned out, no need to put it on the charger and wait. Just go.
Yes, sir.
When do you remember first interacting with the Maglite brand? Did your dad have a Maglite, or do you remember? Because obviously they've been around for a long time. A lot of people remember that sort of thing.
Yeah, I can remember growing up and having some of the old C and D cell style flashlights around the house. I mean, we probably used them as weapons back then as kids.
And the legal department just called me, by the way. Thank you very much. That is not a recommended use of any Maglite. Just put it out there for everybody to know. And of course, you make things yourself. and have pride of making stuff. And one thing that's important, very important to the owner of the company, Anthony Maglite, God bless him, is we make our products, they're manufactured in the United States. And there are real people running machines and assembling things and checking them and making sure that they are perfect before they go out the door. Pride of making something probably means a lot to you too, right?
Yes, for sure.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Be able to
because
hold
you're
something in
not
your hand that you can tell that, the quality in it, that's important.
quality is there. Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why people, of course, love Maglites too, is the high quality and, just about, well, I won't say it because the legal department get mad at me, but let's just say the Maglites have a reputation of being very tough and being able to take a beating and keep working. If you were to tell somebody what you love most about what you do in terms of the woodworking, what is it you get out of it?
Yeah, I would say just being able to be creative. It's not restricting. There's so many types of woodworking, so many mediums to work with, different types of wood. Recently got into wood turning, which is completely different than about any other kind of woodworking you can do. And so there's the sky's the limit of what you can go with.
Yeah, the extent of my handyman stuff is a shovel and gravel or an axe and taking that to like blackberry bushes I'm trying to get rid of. I'm a blunt instrument. I didn't get that gift in terms of being able to make things. My wife is the handyman in the house. If something is broken, my wife's like, no, don't touch it. You'll just make it worse. Go back to your office and do something else. And she'll fix it. Well, that's just the way it is. Some people have that gift, other people don't. Certainly not one of mine. All right, Scott Seaman, thank you very much for being here on the Maglite podcast. By the way, if you have questions for Scott, or if you have a Maglite podcast you'd like to see, or a question you have about Maglite, or anything that you want to see covered on a podcast, you can go ahead and send an email to podcast@maglite.com. Podcast@maglite.com. And if you have questions for Scott, we'll bring him back and we'll ask him the questions. Where do they find you, Scott?
Yeah, Instagram at Seaman Custom Builds, and also have the YouTube channel with the same name.
All right. Thank you very much. And by the way, he loves the Maglite Solitaire. That's the one he takes out personally when he goes running on those dark mornings. Thank you for connecting with us here at the Maglite Podcast. I'm Lou Desmond, your host. We'll see you next time.